Okay, let's be honest. You're looking at your to-do list. Maybe it's just that one thing you know you should really do, and you hear that familiar little whisper inside. Ah, I'm just not motivated today.
Yeah, we've all felt that, right? That heavy inertia when you know you need to move, but everything in you just wants to, well, stay put.
Absolutely. It's a feeling that connects us all, I think. And often our go-to strategy is just waiting.
Waiting. Yeah, wait for the mood to strike, wait for inspiration, wait for that, surge of energy we think is necessary to begin.
Exactly. But as we know from frustrating experience, waiting for that perfect, energized moment often means, well, it just doesn't come, or not reliably.
Right. And life keeps moving while we wait.
So for this deep dive, we're really going to try and unpack that elusive, often frustrating nature of motivation. Why does it feel so unreliable? Where does it, disappear to?
And maybe more importantly, how can we actually access it? Or maybe even build it, instead of feeling like we're just passively waiting for it to show up.
Our source material for this exploration is a really thoughtful reflection shared in a YouTube podcast transcript. It's titled, Where Can We Find Motivation?
And it offers a perspective that's, well, it's surprisingly gentle, I found, yet incredibly powerful on this really common struggle.
Yeah, gentle is a good word. And our mission here isn't about finding some, magic formula or pushing through with sheer willpower all the time. That gets exhausting.
Definitely.
This source guides us somewhere quieter, more personal maybe, to look for where motivation might really live.
So we're going to challenge that common belief that motivation absolutely must come first.
Right. Explore the unexpected places it might be hiding, and understand how it's less about finding a single spark and maybe more about nurturing a sustainable flame from within.
Okay, let's dive in.
So the source really zeroes in on that initial hurl, that feeling of just waiting. Waiting for the feeling, waiting for the clarity, waiting for that moment when everything feels clear, exciting, and full of energy before you even think about starting.
Right. And the core problem that the source highlights is precisely that waiting game. That magical moment simply doesn't arrive on command, or at least not as often as we hope.
Yeah, and we can get stuck in this state of anticipation while life just, well, passes by.
I feel like I've lived a good portion of my life in that state.
Me too. So this is where the source introduces what feels a bit counterintuitive, at least to my usual way of thinking,
Which is,
that motivation doesn't always precede action. It often follows it.
that's the crucial insight, I think. The order is frequently reversed in reality.
Okay, explain that a bit more.
Well, the source gives a great relatable example. Imagine needing to clean your room, but you really, really don't want to. It feels heavy, daunting.
Oh, yeah, I know that feeling well.
But you decide to just start, maybe just for 10 minutes. What often happens?
Well, usually after those 10 minutes, something shifts. I might actually start feeling better, maybe more engaged, and then I end up doing more than I originally intended.
Exactly. It's not that the motivation was there before you started wiping that first surface.
Oh, probably not. Those initial few minutes probably felt like pure resistance.
But the simple act of starting, of putting one foot in front of the other, physically moving, actually changes something internally. It breaks the inertia.
Yeah, and that resistance can start to melt away, allowing you to potentially enter a state of flow or just ease, really.
It's a fundamental takeaway. Motivation isn't always a prerequisite. It's often a product of movement.
So if you insist on feeling fully ready and energized every single time before starting,
You could genuinely be waiting forever.
Oh,
The source emphasizes that simply beginning, even if it feels heavy or small, just for 5 minutes, can create the space for energy and motivation to emerge.
okay, so if motivation often follows action, maybe our idea of what motivation is needs rethinking too.
How do you mean?
Well, we often picture it as this intense, strong, almost aggressive feeling, right? Like a surge of adrenaline or a lightning bolt hitting you.
That's our common cultural image of it, isn't it? The big movie moment.
Yeah. But the source suggests that in real life, motivation is usually much softer, much quieter.
It's described more like a gentle knock on a door that you have to consciously choose to notice and open.
Oh, I like that analogy. And maybe we confuse that loud, dramatic feeling with excitement.
I think that's a key point the reflection makes. Motivation doesn't have to feel exciting to be real.
Right. Sometimes it's just this quiet underlying pull towards doing something simply because it matters, even when every fiber of your being resists.
Yeah, even when you really don't want to.
So what does this gentle motivation look like in practice? The source gives examples, right?
It does.
Yeah.
And they're lovely because they're so ordinary. It's Opening your notebook even when your mind is completely blank and you have no idea what to write.
Okay.
It's putting on your shoes to go for a walk, even when the sofa feels like the most comfortable place on earth.
Guilty.
Or writing just the first sentence, even if you immediately think it's terrible.
Ah, okay. So it's not about needing grand inspiration to write a novel. It's just opening the notebook.
Precisely. It's not about needing excitement for a marathon. It's just putting on the shoes for a walk.
It's these tiny actions, these almost imperceptible steps. That's where the source suggests real sustainable motivation is actually hiding.
There's a powerful quote mentioned that really gets to this. You don't have to feel good to get started, but once you start, you might feel better.
Ah, that rings so true. It makes me think of like lighting a candle.
Go on.
Well, the initial effort to get that first spark, to get the wick to catch, can feel a bit fiddly or resistant sometimes. But once it's lit, once that first match is struck, the flame grows and sustains itself.
That's a great analogy. You don't need a bonfire to start. You just need that first tiny spark.
Exactly. And if we accept that motivation is often gentle and follows action, well, it changes where we look for it, doesn't it?
It has to. The source suggests shifting our search away from the typical loud places, the high-energy motivational videos, the endlessly scrolling inspiring quotes that feel, well, external.
Yeah, instead of only looking for those big external pushes, the reflection invites us to consider quieter, less obvious moments and places where a gentle nudge might be waiting.
And the examples are beautiful because they're so accessible, so everyday.
Like what?
It could be hearing a stranger's completely honest, uninhibited laugh on the street, just that sound.
Okay.
Or noticing a short, simple sentence written on a wall as you pass by. You know, graffiti sometimes has wisdom.
Huh, sometimes.
Or hearing a song you haven't heard in years that suddenly stirs something within you. The profound quiet and stillness of an early morning. Or even just a simple memory that gently returns.
That's such a powerful contrast to our usual expectation that we need some huge event, a massive success, a dramatic life change, a big win to feel genuinely inspired or motivated.
Right. The source is saying the potential for that tiny spark, that gentle nudge, is often right there in the small, quiet things we might otherwise just rush past or ignore.
What's also interesting is how the source mentions motivation coming from contrast.
Explain that.
Like remembering past struggles or difficult periods can give you perspective and make you see and appreciate your current strength, which can be motivating in itself.
Okay, yeah, I get that. Or hearing about someone else's difficulties can sometimes clarify your own situation or values, providing a push to move forward.
There's that anecdote in the source about the friend who made a significant change.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Not because someone lectured them or gave them perfect advice, but because they simply looked in the mirror one day and were just tired of their own excuses.
And that quiet internal realization was their spark. It wasn't loud, it wasn't external.
It makes you realize you never know what seemingly small interaction, memory, or moment of quiet self-awareness might actually wake you up.
So the source encourages us to maybe reframe the question we're asking ourselves.
Instead of the frustrated, almost desperate, where is my motivation?
Try shifting it to a softer, more observational question. What small thing is already speaking to me? Am I even paying attention to the quiet nudges?
And what might be speaking to us? The source suggests things like, well, a forgotten notebook on your shelf that feels like it's calling you to open it.
Or a photo on your phone that reminds you of the future self you aspire to become.
Or maybe just that quiet inner voice that's been there all along, gently saying, okay, let's just try again.
So, taking a step back then, let's really clarify what motivation can look like. Because we've established it's not just that loud excitement.
Yeah, what else can it be? The source introduces a really powerful idea here. Motivation can look like clarity.
Clarity. Interesting.
Yeah, it's that quiet feeling that settles in, like, I don't want to waste any more time, or I'm ready to stop running from this, or even just simply and quietly, I want to feel proud of myself when I go to bed tonight.
That reframing is empowering, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it takes the pressure off needing to feel upbeat or excited.
Exactly. It puts the control back with you. You don't need to wait for some dramatic movie-like external trigger to feel motivated.
You can cultivate that moment of clarity and intention right where you are.
And how do you do that? The source suggests you start by simply learning to notice the beauty in small effort.
Like appreciating the act itself.
Yeah. Start by actively looking for the meaning and significance in ordinary, everyday actions. And crucially, internalize the truth that every single step counts.
Even the tiny ones that feel invisible or insignificant in the moment.
It brings back that classic analogy of the staircase.
Right. You don't need to see the entire flight of stairs to move forward.
You just need to decide to take the first step.
And the source gives us those concrete examples of what that first step could look like. Writing just one single sentence.
Washing one single dish in the sink.
Sitting in silence for just 1 minute. Tiny things.
And then the source says, something shifts, like a window opening in a stuffy room.
Like air starting to move again after being stagnant.
Like hope quietly returning. It suggests motivation isn't this distant peak you have to conquer to find it.
No, it's often waiting for you to simply take that first small step and notice the little things that are already present.
So, building on that, what if we shifted our perspective entirely? What if we stopped thinking about finding motivation as if it's lost somewhere?
And started thinking about actively building it from the inside.
Yes. That's the shift from dependency to inner strength that the source highlights. It distinguishes between external and internal motivation.
Okay, break that down. External motivators.
Like constantly watching inspirational videos, seeking praise from others, or chasing external rewards.
The source says those can make you dependent, right? Like a phone that constantly needs plugging in to be charged from the outside.
But internal motivation, the kind that springs from within you, from your own values, your quiet sense of purpose, your inner strength.
That's described like a fire that feeds itself. It doesn't require constant external input to keep burning.
So how do we build this internal fire? The first fundamental tool the source points to is knowing your why.
Understanding why you are trying to grow, why you are learning this skill, changing this habit, or moving towards this goal, that's absolutely critical.
The source is clear. If you don't know your why, the real underlying reason, it's incredibly easy to stop when things inevitably get difficult or uncomfortable.
But when your why is strong and clear, it acts like an anchor. You can feel completely tired or afraid or overwhelmed.
But that deeply rooted reason helps you keep going. And the source stresses your why. It doesn't have to be some massive world-changing mission.
No, it just has to be simple and true for you.
The examples given are beautifully human. I want to be proud of myself again.
I want to be able to truly take care of my family.
I just want to stop feeling stuck in this rut.
I want to feel alive again, not just going through the motions. Simple, powerful stuff.
And the practical suggestion from the source is to keep that why visible in your life somehow.
Right. Write it down. Whisper it to yourself when you're struggling. Put it on a sticky note where you'll see it. It's your quiet anchor when you feel lost or adrift.
Okay, so that's the why. What's the second powerful tool for building this internal motivation?
Self-talk.
Wow, the inner critic. Or hopefully the inner coach.
Exactly. Your mind is always listening.
Yeah.
How you speak to yourself has a profound impact on your ability to move forward.
So if your inner dialogue is constantly, I'm lazy, I'm hopeless, I'm falling behind.
Your brain internalizes those judgments as truth. It believes them.
But if you can consciously shift to a gentler, more encouraging inner voice.
You give yourself strength. I'm learning. I'm trying. I'm not giving up, even if it's slow.
The source offers a simple, actionable practice here.
Which is?
Every morning, before the noise of the world rushes in, consciously say just one kind sentence to yourself.
Just one. It could be something as simple as, I am capable of doing hard things.
Or I choose progress over perfection today.
Or I don't need to be perfect, I just need to begin.
Yeah.
Make that very first voice you hear each day one that is supportive and kind.
I love that. And building on that idea of consistent small actions, the source brings in the often misunderstood concept of discipline.
Yeah, so many of us hear discipline and think of punishment or rigid self-denial. It sounds harsh.
But the source reframes it beautifully. Discipline isn't about punishing yourself.
It's about creating small, consistent rhythms, habits that carry you forward automatically, even on the days you absolutely don't feel like moving at all.
And this is deeply connected to building that intrinsic motivation we talked about, right?
Absolutely. You don't have to suddenly become a hyper-productive machine overnight.
The advice, again, is to start incredibly small. So small, in fact, that it feels almost too easy to fail.
Like what kind of small?
Examples are simple. Committing to 2 minutes of focused reading.
Yeah.
Doing 5 minutes of light stretching or walking.
Barely anything.
Writing down just 3 things you're genuinely grateful for.
And then, the source says, the magic is in the repetition.
And then repeat it again tomorrow and the day after.
This is how you build the kind of motivation that isn't dependent on your mood, the weather outside, or whether you got approval from someone else.
It comes from that deep, quiet knowing, I'm doing this because it matters to me.
So the source offers one last powerful reframe for how we think about seeking motivation.
Which is?
Instead of asking, where can I find motivation? Imagine asking yourself, how can I take care of it like a garden inside me?
Oh, that's lovely, like tending to something precious.
Exactly. You water it with those small, consistent efforts and habits.
You protect it from the weeds of negative self-talk and the harsh weather of external judgment.
You feed it with the truth of your why. You celebrate the tiny wins. And you cultivate deep self-respect by showing up for yourself consistently.
Because, as the source beautifully concludes this idea, you don't need to chase the fire out there in the world.
You already are the spark, capable of starting and nurturing that fire from within.
Wow. Okay, bringing all these ideas together then, this deep dive, guided by our source material, offers a really powerful and, again, gentle truth.
Which is that motivation isn't some wild thing you have to hunt down or wait for lightning to strike.
No, it's something you actively create, slowly, patiently from the inside out.
It grows not through forceful demand, but like a small plant you nurture, water, and protect daily with your habits, your thoughts, and your quiet effort.
And if you're listening right now and feeling deeply stuck, feeling that heavy inertia we started with,
The source offers profound encouragement here.
it says, it's okay. You are not broken. You're not fundamentally lazy.
You are simply in a season where things might feel heavier, and that is perfectly all right and completely human.
The suggestion is to be honest with that feeling of struggle. Don't judge it or beat yourself up over it.
Just hold that struggle gently, with kindness towards yourself.
Because those small, quiet actions we talked about, opening the notebook, taking that first step, writing that single sentence, choosing kindness with your self-talk.
These are already signs that you are showing up for yourself, even when it's incredibly hard and you don't feel like it. That itself is a win.
So the source invites you, right now maybe, to just pause, take a breath.
And ask yourself those quiet, tender questions it suggests.
Like, what is just one small thing I can do today to take care of my future self?
What does my heart quietly want or need right now, even if I haven't listened for a while?
How can I make just a tiny bit of progress today? Not to prove anything to anyone else, but simply to feel connected again to my own potential.
And the key is, you absolutely do not have to do everything on that list today. You don't have to fix it all at once.
The source reminds us you just have to do one thing.
And that one thing is enough.
And please remember this part. Even on the days you feel zero motivation, even when you feel like giving up on everything,
You are still worthy of patience. You are still allowed to try again tomorrow or even later today. Every moment is a new chance.
So, to wrap up this deep dive, the core takeaway seems pretty clear,
Motivation is less about waiting for a dramatic lightning strike.
and much more about nurturing a quiet, persistent flame within you.
It's built day by day through those small, consistent actions, through having clarity about your simple, true why, and through the gentle, kind way you speak to yourself internally.
So let your effort be your evidence that you are capable of showing up.
Let your small steps, taken consistently, be your quiet, undeniable strength.
Because you don't have to wait for motivation to arrive from somewhere else, as the source puts it so beautifully.
You are motivation in human form, soft, slow, real, and profoundly alive.
As a final thought, maybe try the exercise the source suggests.
Yeah, it's simple. Close your eyes for a moment, take a slow, deep breath.
And gently, internally or whispered, say to yourself, I am not stuck. I am learning how to move again.
Say it again if it feels right. I'm not stuck. I am learning how to move again.
And when you open your eyes, choose just one single small thing to do today.
Trust that one thing will lead to another, and know that with that tiny step, you are already moving.